Hello, guys. This presentation is about spontaneous abortion in Canada lynx females due to malnutrition. This is a huge hot topic in conversation regarding lynx survival in the wild and why their numbers are plummeting. The lynx have a periodic plunge that we'll discuss later. And before I get into this topic, I just wanted to touch upon a brief timeline in Link's history to kind of set a guidance to this PowerPoint. So in 1921, the Conservation of Wildlife Canada did a research study based on the relationship between Canada lynx and their main food source, which is the snowshoe hare, which will be a huge topic in this PowerPoint regarding the relationship with malnutrition in the lynx in the wild. And the studies were done in the 1820s to the first decades of the 1900s by Charles Gordon Hewitt. And this kind of did a landslide into the study of lynx, which we'll discuss. In 1955, they were close to extinction, and this was mainly due to the fur trade. And in 1980, an average of 35,669 lynx pelts were exported from the US and Canada. In 1990, we saw a population increase in Maine, which led to, in 1997, the lynx becoming a species of special concern. The lynx were considered for this state lifting, but due to insufficient info to assess their status in Maine, they were crowned a species of special concern. And from that, in 1999, the Maine Department of Wildlife and Fishing and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service began a 12-year study to determine the status of the lynx. This included tagging and studying their special habitat, their habitat use, and sources of mortality and reproduction. This gives us a better idea of what's going on in lynx life behind the scenes in the wild and what could be the reason as to why they're not producing and what exactly is keying into that. In 2000, they were a federally threatened species. The Canada lynx was listed as threatened under the Endangered Species Act. And this led to the US government to develop a recovery plan and identify critical habitat for the lynx. In 2003, there was a genetic variation decline. Documents reduced genetic variations in lynx populations. And then 2006, their numbers got a little higher since they were studied. And they were back to special concern. Lynx numbers improved in Maine and were at a record high with decent climate and a decrease of fur exports. Because now 2006, they're not really wearing a lot of fur, and lynx can remain in the wild where they belong for the time being. In 2008, there were designated critical habitats for the lynx. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service proposed a revised designation for critical habitat, which is about a 42,753 square miles of critical lynx habitat. So they're capturing and releasing lynx in a certain area, which they'll be protected more so than they would in other areas, and they can be studied and monitored. Today, the lynx are declining again. After being reintroduced to designated areas, lynx survival rates are being affected by none other than climate change. And this is in relation to their main diet source, the snowshoe hare, and how this relates to climate change with their malnutrition and how they're getting their diets, how they're sourcing it, and how they're not being as successful as they were. And like I said, lynx have been a rapid decline and they've been getting higher. And this repeats in cycles, but the rate that they're declining now is faster than it was throughout history that we've seen. And like I said, this has a huge part of climate change into their malnutrition. All right, so spontaneous abortion is when a fetus is aborted from the womb prior to being able to survive independently due to numerous causes, mainly from malnutrition or complications. This is common in female lynx because lynx are prone to birth complications due to malnutrition from scarcity of their main prey, the snowshoe hares. They cannot gain enough nutrition from eating other animals in the pace that they need for their energy requirements. And female lynx will usually tend to not even become pregnant if their food is so scarce and if the food is seemingly high at the time of conception, I couldn't think of the word, I'm sorry. If their food is high at the start of conception and then it dwindles again, that's how spontaneous abortion is getting so high because it's so unpredictable, because the weather is so unpredictable, and there's so many factors that are going into this that we'll discuss in the next few slides. So Canada lynx mate in late winter and early spring. However, like I said, females won't produce in times of scarce prey and can spontaneously abort due to the malnutrition if they are not meeting their nutritional requirements as pregnant mothers. Snowshoe hares also mate around the same time, so you'd think that the numbers would be decently high. But malnutrition is mainly due to the shortages of the snowshoe hare, and the lynx typically, as an adult, when they're not pregnant, requires around 600 to 1,000 kcals a day, which is approximately what they can acquire from the snowshoe hares. Shortages from the hares can be caused by disease, food supply shortages, species predation in competition to the lynx, like foxes and fisher cats and coyotes, and other frustrations of survival due to camouflage mismatch. And this is when their fur doesn't match their changing environment. So in the winter, snowshoes hares will be white and they'll match the snow and they easily blend in. And mind you, lynx are excellent hunters in the winter. This is what their bodies were designed for. This is the climate they live in. They're stealthy night walkers that tread through snow and are great at hunting. But in the spring or summer months, snowshoe hares, their coats will become darker, more gray, more dusty colored, and that will help them blend into those environments. But what do you get when it's winter and we have weather like it's spring? The snowshoe hares are not adapting, and this lets other predators jump in and take the lynx's territory for food. Like I said, lynx can hunt other animals, but they will have to hunt in higher frequencies to obtain their prey to match their energy requirements. Being a specialized predator makes it harder for them to adapt. Lynx also hunt better in snowy climates, like I said, leaving other predators with an advantage to their prey. This is a slide that shows the difference in mismatched fur camouflage in snowshoe hares with the climate change. So if the animal's seasonal coats don't match their environment, their numbers plummet. In a 2016 study, it was observed that hares are declining at 7% higher weekly, with a threat of population by the end of the century. So there are different diet therapy options, but they're more lifestyle changes. So since the lynx is a generalist predator, meaning they're prone to hunt a specific animal, snowshoe hare make up 75% of their diet. So generalist predators mean that they just hunt usually one thing. This one animal makes up the bulk of their diet. Specialist predators like foxes and coyotes hunt a variety of different things, whatever they can get their hands on the quickest and the easiest and the most. So the snowshoe hares make up 70% of their diet. They will have to adapt by consuming other prey in large quantities to meet their energy requirements to reproduce. Some of these animals can be squirrels, large rabbits. They're not going to be as large as the hares, but they're going to have to eat a few more. Small birds, ground nesting birds, voles, maybe small deer, but that will expend a lot of their energy for consumption to hunt and kill this animal. There are reintroduction programs releasing large numbers of hares into the designated areas of lynx habitats that were discussed prior. And there's also tracking lynx and hare patterns in accordance to their predators that will help monitor the relationships a little bit more with consumption rates and competition, hopefully leading to a better understanding of the next steps to take for lynx reproduction and survival rates in accordance to hares as well. So you got to think of some more animals to eat that can hopefully require enough energy for these female lynx to reproduce or get more hares. It's very complicated and there's a lot of different studies being done to try and think of ways to reintroduce these hares into the lynx habitats and keep these lynx into certain habitats where we can do this sort of balance. So the biggest life change to benefit the lynx in the wild is something that we can do at home. The biggest threat to lynx survival and the biggest threat for them to be a part of this spontaneous abortion and to have their numbers plummet because of malnutrition, because they're not getting the food they can normally eat, we can help by reducing our contribution to climate change. So we can reduce, reuse, and recycle everything that comes into our hands. We can decrease our carbon footprint. We can carpool when it's available. We can take public transportation. We can cut down what we're expending into our environment and replace it with healthy solutions. We can use energy efficient items like light bulbs and different things. We can lower our consumption of animal products because greenhouse gases from cattle ranching is no joke. It is ruining our forests, it is ruining our rainforests. It is a disaster that is really rarely looked upon. Maybe have a meatless Monday or try and find different ways to incorporate meatless days into your week. I know it's not accessible for everybody to just completely cut out meat products, but trying to be aware of what you're putting into your body that's taking away from our environment. You can stop littering. That's a number one. And that's a no-brainer, but some people have to be told. And also, a more expensive project, consider solar panels. That's a huge possibility to helping set back climate change. There's so many different ways that we can set back climate change, and it's so easy to find them. We can research, we can talk to our friends about it, see what everyone else is doing, and then maybe it'll inspire everybody to make a better choices in their lifestyle and to think about what you do in your daily life that is affecting those out of our sight. Thank you. Thank you for bearing through my PowerPoint on malnutrition leading to spontaneous abortion in lynx and what we can do about it and what they can do about it and what we as a community can do about it in home. Thank you. I hope this was educational and brought insight into what's going on behind the scenes in the wild.